Welcome back to the Memory Podcast. I am your host tonight, Jonathan Haslet, and today we will be talking about long-term memory. So let's get right into it. So there's two different types of long-term memory. There's explicit, also known as declarative, and it's kind of like where you can recall with detail and you can consciously recall information. And then the other type would be implicit, which is non-declarative, or also known as non-declarative, and it impacts behavior based on experiences and activities, and you unconsciously recall this information, so you don't really need to think about it. And it's very important to note that both have almost unlimited duration and capacity. It is also the most permanent storage system for information and is responsible for the storage part of the memory process. So that would be step number 2 in the memory process. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna break it down. So explicit has two different types. We have semantic, which is general facts and knowledge about it, and episodic, which is more of like a memory. It could be visual, but it's like a personal memory or experience. So semantic. So I chose a football for this, and notice how it's not anything special, just a football sitting on the field. So you talk to someone about football, and they have a semantic memory about it. They're like, "Oh yeah, I know football. It has a ball in it. It's played on a field. It's a sport." But they don't really know too much about it. They don't have any real personal experiences with it. They just know general facts and knowledge about it. And on the other hand, episodic would be like a personal memory or experience. So you see me on the left. Let's just say I had like a personal memory of me hitting like a long field goal in game. That'd be a personal memory experience. That'd be episodic. Or on the right, you see like a big play by the Falcons to help win the game. That'd be also very uh, memorable experience. So let's go over implicit now. Implicit has two different types as well of implicit memories. We got procedural, which is like, basic skills, motors, cognitive, and disposition, which is learned behaviors, habits, and responses to situations. So procedural would be like skills, motors, and performing different actions. So, for example, right here in the top left photo, I have a phone number. So it's kind of like how you just remember your own phone number. You don't really have to think about it. Or another thing would be like your home phone or your mother's phone number. You kind of just like already know. You don't really need to think about it. And then bottom middle, it's the same thing with writing. You don't need to be like, how do I write the letter A again? No, it's because you've done it a bunch and you're just like basic and you're good at it and you know how to do it. It comes naturally to you. Or another thing is your address. You don't really need to think about it. You just kind of know it. Some other things I didn't put photos up here for would be like maybe garage code or how to ride a bike or drive a car. Because once you know that stuff kind of just like sticks in you and you remember it. That is procedural. Next up, we have dispositions, which is learned behaviors, habits, and responses. So here on the photo on the left, I actually read a little article about someone who put their friend's ringtone as a different ringtone than everything else. So when their friend called them, they'd have a different ring, and it kind of like pops in your head. You're like, oh, that's my friend calling, and then maybe like a little memory about him or something like that. So I just thought that was pretty cool, and I'd share that. And also a learned behavior and response. I thought a great example was Pavlov's dogs. It is it's an experiment where they blew a whistle and Pavlov's dogs got fed food. Okay, and they did this over a long period of time, and they just kept doing this. And then after a while, they would just blow the whistle, and the dogs would salivate, but there'd be no food fed to them, and that's just because they built up the response to it. Like when you scare someone, you go by them, you say boo, they could kind of jump and like be startled, be like, oh, or maybe scream. And that's also like a learned behavior, and it's a response to a situation that happens. And we have the bibliography, and I will have shared this PowerPoint with you through Google Drive. Thank you for your time.